Hello guys, today I'm making a video that I've constructed before. However, this video will not only criticize the furry fandom, but also the anti-furries as well. Unlike other channels, I believe both furries and anti-furries have issues included in each of their groups. I would like to note that this video is for the intent of me speaking my general opinion, and it is not to harass any group here or target any individuals. So without further ado, let me first begin my reasons on why I dislike the furry fandom. Now, considering the furry community has so many people, I think it's pretty safe to say that some of the content they create can be counted as cringe. Of course, it depends on how you may interpret things, but I've seen lots of wacky things that have made me feel a bit weird. If you know VRChat, many furries like to go on there and socialize from time to time. However, there are also furries who literally live on the platform, and some of them can be caught involving themselves in very strange things. If you've seen Cringe VR videos, you might have seen furries from time to time acting like literal children, or making their furry characters have the most cursed proportions known to man. These people have some strange things going on, but steering back off of VRChat, there are already multiple furry cringe compilations that reside on YouTube. You of course know it's bad when even an atheist thinks he needs God from all the horrible shit he's seen. Out of everything I've really seen, I think the most cringe thing that even most furries can agree on is the hellhole that is all the single furries. If I can say anything about this, it is the worst time of your life to have working ears and working eyes right now. Of course, cringe is basically in every community, but I really do think that furries take this shit to a whole other level. But moving on, another reason why I dislike them may be heavily disagreed upon, but I will still hold my beliefs as said. Now listen, I'm not trying to be a dick and say that every furry is a snowflake. There are some who can actually take criticism and understand when certain videos are jokes and satire. For one case, I will rather mention this might piss off some furries, but for the cases such as Flash gets videos on them, some may get angry or pissed off despite the comedy. However, I've analyzed some reaction videos, and it seems that some furries actually tolerate these videos more than I thought. However, that doesn't mean they are totally in the clear. When people critique the furry fandom, there's always one furry who will take it more as an attack, and if you go out enough into the internet, there's definitely furries out there who would want your head on a spike for disagreeing with something they think or maybe something you've said. I'm already expecting some furries to complain on my video I have here right now, but I know there will be some who might understand where I'm coming from. Going again back to VRChat, the furries are so sensitive on the platform to whereas if you just breathe in a way they don't like, they will instantly kick you or block you. And to those who keep saying I'm only using the VRChat furries, for all these reasons, VRChat is very popular among furries, so I still think my reasons stay true to themselves in this context. If furries barely used VRChat, that would be a different ballgame, but here we are. You can find plenty of VRChat videos in where furries were simply criticized without being harassed or bashed on to a severe degree, and still act like the person they are speaking to is giving them a generational curse that is irreversible. But really, it depends on who you meet. There are chill furries and there are sensitive furries. I know a friend named JB who has got to be one of the best furries I've met, and that's probably because he doesn't live on the internet. Moving on to one of the biggest reasons on why I dislike furries, this one is definitely going to strike the most nerves. Now personally, some furries don't think it's a big deal, but I really do think this is one of the biggest reasons of why I dislike them. Many deny that furries aren't sexual or that many don't consume NSFW content, but lots of personal experiences and even analyzation from people say otherwise. No matter where you go, you will never find yourself safe from adult furry content or furry content that's sexualized in general. Whether it be fursuit butt compilations on YouTube, or even furry memes, in which majority of the memes are just about sex. Ah, sex, really funny. And yes, I know movies have sex jokes, and yada yada. But this shit is actually so unfunny. But seriously, what the fuck are you guys smoking? I swear even the videos for these are just cropped NSFW. Furries, you do realize kids might get this shit on the recommendations, right? But on a serious note, what are y'all doing, bruh? It gets genuinely concerning to where people even make jokes that aren't even funny, just downright disgusting. I mean, you got people saying the most fucked up shit about literal feral Pokemons or actual feral dogs. Where did your guys' dignity go? Every furry I talk to will want my head on a spike if I dislike their imaginary furry goddess, and I even fear that some of my anthro characters are going to be sexualized by these freaks. At that point, it's fucking inevitable. At least I hope not. But we will see what the future holds. I also know for a fact when furries find out I make parodies of NSFW furry artists or creators in which they get unalived, I might get targeted heavily by these gooners. I also think the lust is a big issue since despite it being anthropomorphic, it's still an animal. And I have my personal beliefs on why I think attraction to anthros equates to zoophilia. But I have a separate video for that. I don't think it's as severe as people attracted to literal feral animals, but it still concerns me on where it can lead a person to, considering furries still look and act like animals because that is what they are based off of. Also, it has a very bad effect on your brain, so if you truly care about your health, please consider what you let your mind consume. I even hear people saying it's just a drawing, but remember, that's the same excuse lolies use. And may I also mention once again that these furries be having literal parties in VR chat, like how am I not surprised? Also, there's this one video I'd like to point out where a channel known as Love Don't Judge posted a video in which a guy lost his friends because he dated a furry. However, I got real curious and researched this person, and of course, like most furries, they are involved in adult content. I mean, if you see their room, they have literal toys lined up like they are fucking action figures. And she even has her own cage. This is what does to people, everyone. And it gets worse, by the way. This person I'm mentioning goes by Jade the Fur, and she recently actually got arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Talk about going feral, everybody. Maybe Love does judge after all because of the concern of personal safety. I don't think your friends left because she was a furry. They left because she was a threat. But returning back to the topic, if you truly dig in, you will see many NSFW or sexualized content regarding the furry fandom. Even the Steam games or itch games, AI has analyzed that most of these games are NSFW related. Look up Furry on Steam and the first results are all NSFW games. Also, can we speak about the fact how the Reddit for Yif has more members than the one for normal furries? Y'all really need to get some help, damn. But hey, if you want to keep consuming that content, you're only hurting yourself. Now I've gotten over why I dislike furries, now it's time for the anti-furries to receive their judgment as well. Jeez, I'm really doubling down covering two groups that want this video gone. Now this one should definitely be a Captain Obvious. If you know what it is like to enter a anti-furry Discord, the first thing you might be greeted with is a bunch of ranting or slurs being thrown around. I used to be an anti-furry around 3 to 4 years ago, and when I first joined a Discord server, I was greeted with people ranting about furries to a minimal degree. However, nowadays, if I enter one, I notice most would go to the measure of saying words such as the hard R or using the word Jew as an insult, which is used by some but not all. Just like with the furries, it really depends what anti-furries you meet, but there will even be times where anti-furries fight with each other, which goes to show how toxic things can be. I know furries do it too, but I don't think most always go to the degree of using slurs, but I could be wrong. If you check out anti-furry channels, some dedicate their whole lives to berate people and just cause chaos in general. I usually thought anti-furries were trying to target actual bad furries, but I usually see them hating every singular one they can detect. What I'm trying to say is that some anti-furries don't just harass furries, they just usually harass anyone in general who disagrees with them, like some furries do. But I must remind you all once again, not every anti-furry is a bad person. There are anti-furries who do believe there are some good furries out there, and some who don't justify the acts of things like doxing. I have furry and anti-furry viewers, so I can sort of speak for myself on that case. I have some footage as an example where Iraqi anti-furry seemingly harasses someone for no reason. So let me just play that clip real quick.
Shay Daly, please fucking kill yourself. I don't care who you are or how old you are. You're still fucking and you need to kill yourself now. Fucking dirty black.
As you saw, the person being harassed had not even messaged Iraqi. They might have talked to them on a reply, and I might have just not known, but that doesn't make their behavior acceptable. If you truly don't believe the anti-furry community is toxic, go join an anti-furry Discord yourself and look around. It tends to be the ones with verification that have the most toxic people, but you'd be lucky to find some that are actually chill. Anti-furries also tend to look into other people's past when they get the chance, even if that person has changed. But I will get to that point back in my third reason. The second reason why I dislike anti-furries is going to involve two people I've spoken about twice in my channel. And I know for a fact that someone is definitely about to glaze the second guy I speak about. Now, if you know anti-furries, they consist of atheist anti-furries, Muslim anti-furries, Christian anti-furries, and maybe some other religions I have not mentioned. You may be asking, why am I mentioning this? But to continue forward, many of the values some Christian anti-furries might hold clash with what their religion tells them. For example, the Bible tends to say, love your neighbor as yourself. And if you've seen anti-furries, they tend to do the complete opposite. They may try to use verses that highlight that an open rebuke is better than secret love, basically saying it's better to correct someone than try to accept them despite not holding the same values. But the catch is that you can still do that with respect. Swore was someone I covered in a YouTube video once, but that video was mostly me doing a stupid little rant about something unimportant, so I'll just give a real explanation here. Basically, Swore is a furry hater, I'll say. I would say anti-furry, but I'll keep it as this since some people say they hate furries heavily, but aren't anti-furries. Now this guy basically believes in the Christian God and their values. He even has lover of God in his username. But as shown last time, instead of being respectful, at every discussion with a furry, he's likely to give out an insult or something disrespectful. This is hypocritical, as once again, the Christian Bible has differing values that say you should correct people, but in a respectful manner. But this isn't as big as the hypocrite that I will mention for the third time, CEO of trolling. I already know some people are going to be fuming, but I could already literally use this guy for any part of these three claims. To start off, I'm friends with an animator named Meepios, and he helped me to do many things and such, and teach me how to draw and animate. Me and Meepios both have a history of creating animations that highlight the demise of certain furries, which are tied to NSFW, as we have a large disliking for NSFW content. However, I had a bad past in which basically, I had an imaginary furry girlfriend. I am not kidding you, this shit occurred. However, that was 3 years ago, and I've changed since then. Meanwhile, Meepios had dated real furries in his past, and makes the same hunt animations I've created. Now, remembering all that, this guy shows favoritism towards my friend Meepios, despite us having a very similar history. When I make hunt animations, I'm a criminal. But when Meepios does it, he's fine. Another example of hypocrisy is how he stated I was a furry because of the way I draw anthros. But in the community post, he said, you don't have to be a furry to like anthropomorphic animals. Basically, everything that CEO says contradicts what he says. He even replied on my video on why he's prideful, in which I debunked him for the second time. But apparently, me replying back makes me obsessed, in which I know people have genuine obsessions, but you're the one who sent your minions after me and tried to get my friend Meepios to dislike me. More of the information is provided in these two videos, but the fact is, how can I be obsessed if I'm the one you first came after? If someone is spreading misinformation about you, I'm pretty sure most would point it out and not just let it happen. Especially when you have the evidence full blown in your face. Not using information to protect yourself from false claims is like being in a fight where you have to defeat someone with a knife while you have a gun, but you decide not to use it and just accept your fate. But the hypocrisy still goes on. I recall CEO saying that if the video had less of an aggressive tone, he would consider my claims. Someone did just that in this video and even said multiple times that they don't hate CEO but are trying to correct him. In result, CEO completely ignored the video and said he wasn't going to watch it. But the comment is deleted, so the only minimal proof we have are the comments being full of CEO's fans or people he's collaborated with talking shit about the video. And if you remember last time, he does have a habit of sending his minions to videos about him, so I am not surprised. He even said how do anthropomorphic animals breed, which is outrageous to say as he kept making fun of me for the 3-year-old shit that happened with my past. I've even noticed some anti-furries making sexual jokes about the TF2 characters, which is the equivalent of the furries making their shitty sex jokes. Also, wait till they find out TF2 is full of furries. The contradiction really goes hard, but maybe not as hard as my next point. Now going back to what I said previously at the beginning about anti-furries using old past shit to get onto someone, this part will start with the Crimson Fur situation, in which I had covered him in a video before. I originally criticized them for making a video on my friend Meepios, but things went south when they discovered Crimson Fur's past in which he used to goon to plants. And let me put it into context, the plant's from Plants vs. Zombies, not a literal tree. But still, I find it very odd and strange. Many anti-furries would go and continue to mock him on their own videos and posts, but it went to the point where every anti-furry was bashing on this one dude. I even went to the degree of making a second video where I collaborated with CEO of Trolling when we didn't have issues with each other. As much as I dislike what Crimson Fur did, it is his past, and all the hate was mostly unnecessary, and it got to places in which they found Crimson Fur's school and notified the principal even about his goonery behavior. There was also someone he knew named Azor who was his boyfriend, I think, and I'm pretty sure it was soon discovered that the age gap was a bit concerning since Azur was like 3 years older from what I remember. I don't remember the exact gap or information, so I'm just going by what I'm trying to remember, but that's your choice if you want to believe me or not. The Crimson Fur drama spiraled so much that Crimson Fur would delete his channel and soon recently start a new one, in which Iraqi Anti-Furry went on to bash his post again. From what I remember, the comments were deleted, but most anti-furries will probably still continue to harass someone over something that is long gone. Anti-furries tend to go after other people other than Crimson, but it just goes to show how some truly dedicate their lives to make someone else's a living hell. I feel as if some anti-furries mostly attack furries that are stuck to porn more than the ones who actually pose a threat through means of pedophilia, but there are still anti-furries who thankfully cover the pedos of the fandom. If I could sum up this video, both anti-furries and furries have issues, and I really don't like being around both groups, depending on who I'm speaking with. If you're chill, then we shouldn't have a problem, but if you're problematic furry or anti-furry, I most likely don't want anything to do with you. You can criticize people as much as you want as long as it is in a mature manner, but I don't think that will ever be achieved. Both can be cringe, both can be sensitive to criticism, and even on the rare occasion for anti-furries, both can be involved in lust. If I could sum up the whole entire thing, the anti-furries and furries are basically the case of wrath versus lust, or pride versus pride. It could have not been said any better, and I truly hope that in the future, most people aren't one-sided and continue to see the issue with both groups. But I'm only human, so despite me trying to not be biased, I could be completely wrong in some of my statements or overgeneralizations, but I think most of my points stand as I've seen a lot of stupid dramas, especially the point I made on lust. With that, folks, to sum up this video, I wouldn't really associate with each, but it is your choice. With that, Ant out.